you were inspired by your grandfather.
Correct, yes. And I guess he was inspired by Paul Daniels and Tommy Cooper. He didn't do magic, but he loved it. And because he loved it, I suppose he passed that interest on to me. And then I took it from there. It's not like it was his big obsession, but he enjoyed it. You know, he was certainly the only person in the family with a passing interest at any rate.
But magic magic looks simple, but it's quite complicated. And do you like puzzles?
Oh, I love puzzles. And you know, it's interesting. I feel like puzzles are now becoming as interesting and popular at the moment as magic. If you look at the internet, there's huge big channels that promote puzzles. A couple of friends, it's amazing, and I think it's really, really cool. Of course, the most basic form of magic is, you know, it's a puzzle. How do you do that? And then from that you take it to magic, and then, you know, a proper moment of wonder or experience. But it all starts with puzzles. All magic is a puzzle, really.
So when you were a child, was solving puzzles an important part?
You know, not in terms of sitting down and maybe doing a jigsaw, although I did actually. Now looking back, it was more so I just got frustrated when I saw something and I couldn't understand how it worked. I like problem solving, which is hilarious because people who know me know I'm so tuned out half the time. I can focus in, but I'm no common sense to solving problems, not in that respect. But magic was a good avenue because I would see someone do something, I would go, I don't know how to solve what he's just done, and then I would take it, reverse engineer it, or, you know, pay to learn it, or through books, or whatever way it was.
Yeah, but liking something as a child, often your occupation doesn't end up as what people want to be, a train driver, and they don't end up there.
Well, that's true.
Why did you persevere? Was it just something that you couldn't let go of?
You know, I've always, at least I think, and it's only now I'm getting a bit older, I think, and I'm noticing that it's not something that most people have. Not like it's a gift. I think it was whatever way I was brought up or whatever friends I had. I've always had a really strong self-belief that I was always going to do quite well, no matter what it was. And that was probably ingrained, as I say, through parents or things that but also I started so young and I saw positive results that I always just thought, well, of course I'm going to go on and do magic. It's what I like. And there was never any real disbelief that wouldn't happen. Possibly naivety, actually. But it worked out all right, being naive and never considering the possibility that I might do something else.
Yeah, but there's two things. There's being a magician and there's being an entertainer.
Well, true, yeah. I mean, there's a million magicians, but there's probably only, well, I can't give a number. There's certainly not a million magical entertainers on the planet, that's for sure.
So did you want to stand on the stage and do that? Or was
Yes.
magic wasn't the be all?
Well, if I wasn't doing magic, I would be doing something else to entertain people, certainly, for sure. In fact, a lot of the time, even now with what I'm doing, I entertain people with the magic, but I have other things that I do. Like I was always into music and I love drama when I was in school. It was always, let me show you something, please be impressed. That's what I always liked as a child. Goodness knows where that came from. But that's what I liked.
Yeah, well, about just over 5 years ago, I saw you on the Black Box. Your career was a fledgling career and it's gone past that. But so let's actually move forward to the end of last year. You'd recorded the BBC series. Yes,
we finished, I believe, on New Year's Day. I think we had like a couple of days off over Christmas and then we were right back into it again for the final episode. It was great fun. It was great fun. And the cast were amazing. I say cast, I suppose. They were real life people, so they weren't really cast members, but you know what I mean. And the crew were all great. So I'm so glad to have had the opportunity.
How far had you planned ahead before COVID?
Oh, not at all. In fact, it's weird looking back, watching the series. People are shaking hands and hugging and having a great time. That's so bizarre because it seems in my head so recent, but it's I suppose a year ago. It feels like in many ways we've lost a year, sort of. But you know, you can't plan ahead for something like that. You just can't.
No, but plus far planning what you're going to do, the venues, the shows,
anything else. I understand. Yeah. You know, I could say, I had planned so much, I had so many big... I hadn't really planned that far ahead. The plan was the BBC show was going to come out in March. We were going to promote that and then take it from there. But at any rate, I was hoping to do more social media stuff, which is what I actually ended up really focusing in on during lockdown. But I hadn't planned too far ahead. Of course, I would have wanted to be doing shows this Christmas and corporate work and that type of thing. But, I mean, with this type of work, you can only plan so far ahead because opportunity knocks whenever you least expect it.
Well, maybe 3 months, maybe.
Yeah. We'll say 3 months because that makes me feel like I'm I've certainly, now I'm planning further ahead a lot more because I have a better idea of what I want to do in the direction I want to go in. But I was still, until the TV show went out, I was still finding my feet as whether I wanted to really go down the TV route or the social media route. And I was figuring out, now I have a more concrete idea of where I'm going.
So we've got to lockdown and did literally everything stop?
everything stopped. The TV show got pushed back. We thought it was then going to come out in April, but then it was May, and then June, July, and it still wasn't out. So I'm glad it's out now. That was nobody's fault, of course. So I was waiting for that to happen. A whole bunch of shows that we were to do in summer and stuff that had just been pre-booked in advance either got pushed back, inevitably got cancelled or whatever. So that all stopped. The only thing that didn't stop was the fact that people were sitting on their phones every single day looking for entertainment. And I saw that opportunity and I decided to go all in on that.
So we've now got to what, June, July?
Yes, June, July time probably. To be fair, whenever I decide to do something, I tend to act quite quickly on it because I know that if I don't pick up momentum early, I might let the idea fizzle out. You know, us magicians, we do have a tendency to be lazy if we don't make ourselves do something. So I started producing video for social media quite intensely around March time, April, and it started to pick up a bit of speed. I think I grew from March through to April, maybe like 200,000 followers on this page. I was like, this is amazing, this is great. But then June, July time came around, and that's when it started to really take off.
So my next question must be is how did your mental health cope with that? But you had the opposite. Do you almost have too many things to do?
Do you know, it's funny, I'm a big believer in trying to go really all in one area and not trying to do too many things at once, because if you put all your energy on one thing, you go so much further than if you do a little bit in lots of different directions. So I tried not to really do that much for the 6 months that were really intense in lockdown. The only time I left the house was to do a little walk around Donaghadee, but apart from that, it was get up, make my videos, go to sleep, because there were previously where I would have been spending time on emails and stuff. I didn't have to do that anymore because nothing was coming in. My managers were doing that at the back end. So I just made videos every day. I will say, I don't know that my mental health took a massive hit. In some ways it did, but my actual physical health wasn't great because I wasn't sleeping properly. It was a caffeine-infused mess, me trying to push this stuff. You know what it's like when you see something's working, you really go ham at it.
They think blogging or vlogging is easy.
Oh, and it's certainly not. And to be honest, I probably have it a lot easier than those daily vloggers who blog their entire day every single day. That to me is crazy. I couldn't do it. Number one, I don't think that I live the adventurous lifestyle that people want to watch. What I love is taking maybe, at the time I was doing 8 videos a day for TikTok and Instagram. Now it's probably 2 because I'm focusing more on the quality rather than the quantity. But I did hit a little burnout phase at one point, and people say burnout when really they just kind of give out or are lazy. But I really did. It was at the point where the twitches in my eyes were starting and I wasn't sleeping or whatever. But do you know what? I don't regret it, because if I hadn't have pushed through that, then who knows, maybe I wouldn't have hit the tipping point where things started to really take off.
Well, do you know you've got upcoming television things that you've been recording? Do you know how you got noticed?
Yes, it was through those videos. That's how that happened. So I did a series. I don't think I'm allowed to announce it or even say who with yet, but it'll be out before Christmas. And it's a kids thing. It's for the audience that I'll be entertaining on the internet, which is really fun. It was a big learning experience for me.
I do remember your Blue Peter appearance.
Yes, I've almost forgotten that myself, but we found the badge the other day whenever we were clearing out stuff. Regardless, I really enjoyed doing that. And that would not have happened if I hadn't have had stuff on social media. No way. Even if they liked what I was doing, the fact that there's already a following there kind of shows a TV studio, oh, people like him, or I hope they do. So there's a bit of interest there, and it gives them an easier pitch, basically.
So what you did on the internet was the right thing to do. It has been a catalyst for more things. You've managed to prepare and produce for stuff that we're going to be seeing in the fullness of time. You never know with television when these things are going to happen.
You never know.
And you can't talk about,
sadly.
Obviously. But so the path has just been, it's just been growing. The line is going upward, just like one of these great Financial Times things for the markets. Shares have started at nothing and they've risen. Shares and you must be doing very well.
Yeah, it's been great. I think it's fun because a lot of people will now see it, and this is the same with all my friends who are, I suppose, successful in the social media realm, is people see it and they go, oh, you blew up overnight and now it's all great for you. And it's like, well, I've been doing this since I was 6. I've put in the years and years and years. You would like to think if you were working in a job for 17 years, you'd have some sort of promotion at some point. So for me, things are starting to take off, but it has taken a lot of time. And I don't regret it. It's been fun. I love it, and I'm really happy with where I'm at. But maybe this is just, for me, I think it is important to sometimes remind yourself that things haven't always come easy. It has taken a lot of practice and a lot of work.
Yes, I remember people saying an overnight success took them 20 years.
Yeah, that's true. And not just true for me. I'm not saying I'm this rare case who've worked so hard. Every friend of mine who has done well, there is that backlog of failure and not doing well and figuring it out. And I mean, fingers crossed, I can look back in 5 years and be embarrassed with what I was doing now compared to what I'm doing in 5 years. I think that's always the hope, is that you keep leveling up in different areas. Not necessarily success or money or fame, but different things you want to keep getting better at.
The $64,000 question is, I know you don't like to plan that far ahead.
$64,000.
That's not really enough. That's been a phrase for a long time. Maybe not your generation.
I'm showing my...
mind. See, that was when it was a large amount of money.
I'm going to use that, I promise. I wouldn't mind 64,000 if you have it with you.
Just over there, just on the far side of the door when I run out.
That's why I invited you, you know that?
Yeah, of course. It's not for my pretty face.
I'll take it. No, that was the main reason. I just didn't want to say. I was embarrassed.
Oh, that's okay. I'll forgive you.
Take it.
Yeah. So, back to the question, which I could easily forget about if I wasn't very careful.
Yes.
Have you got specific aspirations, or is it a dangerous thing to do?
It's funny because I have specific shorter-term goals that are very tangible, that I go, I want this amount of people on a certain platform at this period of time, and that's cool. But I think long-term, it's hard to tell because...
Well, what market? That market is more the younger market.
Yes.
Is that what you want?
For the time being, definitely. But my hope is that those people will grow up with me, and by the time I'm 30, the people that are 13 are going to be in their 20s, and they're going to be the perfect people to come see a show whenever. So it's, for me, I just want to entertain as many people as I possibly can doing what it is that I like doing, and whether that in 10 years is on social media or whether it's in holograms, who knows? That's hopefully what I'm going to be doing. But I mean, I can't predict the future. I could wake up.
I thought you could predict the future. That was part of what the mentalist side.
I possibly can't predict my own future, just other people's. Isn't that the call me? I'll do a reading. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I mean, I certainly have big goals in my head. But whenever I was a kid, it was have a big Vegas residency show. As we've been shown this year, you can never plan ahead. I mean, this year, actually they're starting back, but Vegas residency shows don't exist at the moment. So who knows where that's going to be in 10 years, whether it's going to be the same thing. But so long as I'm putting myself out there and making people happy, and that sounds cliche, but that is really very true, because I think with that comes all the other stuff.
And it's important to have variety in what you do. Those Vegas shows, they do the same thing again and again and again, and repetitiveness can be a very dangerous thing.
Yeah, it certainly happens to a lot of people. There's some absolutely wonderful people, friends who are now doing Vegas, and it's outstanding, and I'm really, really happy. Those people, what they tend to do is they will change up their act and they keep it interesting for themselves. I can't actually remember who it was, but there was a Vegas magician, and if there's any magicians watching, they'll butcher me for this, but there was one I remember in particular that did say that if he ever finds himself going out and not thinking about the lines, he needs to change the show, because he never wants to let himself get to that point.
So a phrase I've used before is onward and upward, and definitely is true. You're smiling. I know you're a smiler anyway.
Yes. I need to get veneers, and then I can really, really, really grin. It'd be great.
Nah.
Keep it like...
You like that? I think it's whenever you start to become a caricature of yourself, or a doll that they've made of you.
Quite so, yeah, I'll avoid that for the time being. Sorry, I interrupted you.
That's important sometimes. So the future's bright. The future's Joel.
Yeah, well, thank you for saying that. I hope so, and so long as I can keep doing what I'm doing at the time being, and hopefully grow and grow and grow, I'm a very happy person. Well,
it's good. It's a positive story. One of probably the first of all these that I've done over the last few months that has that doesn't have a downer at the end, doesn't have a cliffhanger at the end, because.
Well, I think this is it. I think it's important. There's some things that are just out of our control. I personally cannot control that this big global pandemic came out. I can't. I can control how safe I am and how safe the people around me are, and I can do my part. But I couldn't have foreseen that happening, and I can't change it one man by myself. But what I can control is my own mindset and my own actions, and figure out what positive things I can do. And who knows, if it hadn't have been for this shutdown, maybe I wouldn't have been as motivated to go out and entertain more people. And there's definitely people out there that I know have smiled and had a good time watching my stuff.
But you're making people smile, you're making people think, you're distracting people, and these days that's very, very important.
Yeah, I think so. And certainly in these times, you're right, it is important to make people smile. And whether that's to one person or to a million people, doesn't matter. And that's a cliche thing I used to hear people with audiences say, if you just make one person happy, that's it. And I just think, that's rubbish. You would shoot for more people, and of course you can, but It's
Yeah, but
true.
one person is a positive.
Yeah, the messages that I can get can be so simple, and they can be, and it's not to say, oh, I'm so great, whatever. There's people who are creating 100 times the amount of impact I am, and that's what I strive for. But it is just lovely to know that out of something negative, something positive hopefully came.
If I was a younger person, I might punch my hand in the air and say, go Joel. But you know what I mean.
I mean, you can do it if you want. I'm not encouraging it, but if you want to, you can do it off camera if you like.
Maybe afterwards.
We can do like a warm up and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, listen, it's great to catch up with you because it's been 5 years to almost the day that we had our first interview.
For me, that doesn't feel like 5 years ago. That's bizarre. I remember the exact outfit I was wearing whenever I first came in, everything. And I suppose you want to say thank you as well, because you were the first person to have me on air and interview me. And it's little things like that that really do install like a self-belief in yourself and make you think, oh, you know, well, if it's happened once, maybe I can do it again and build and build and build. So thank you, honestly.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Your cheque will be in the post.
Yes, do.
I mean, your cheque to me.
Oh, 100%, and rightly so. I wouldn't have it
That's
any other way.
That's a $64,000 cheque.
Is that what it is? If I have to.
Listen, thanks, Joel. It's made me smile again, and I like doing that. Good to talk to you.
It's all about you too, Robin. Pleasure.